my good fellow gamers? This is Grunch. I am back with the matches for my first Gatecrash Draft. I have to apologize. Before I did this, I did not realize Magic Online would not save all of your games. So this is going to be very truncated. We're missing most of the games. But I'm going to share what I got. So here we go. Remember, we had a sweet, sweet Boros deck. This was the first. This coincides with draft number 1. So this opening hand, obviously a keeper. We're not doing anything until turn 3, but I mean, you know, you got both colors of mana, you got 2 haste guys and equipment. I should clarify, this is post-board. This is game 2. My opponent's playing a dumpy Dimir deck. I crushed him savagely game 1. And so here we go, yeah. Daring Skyjack into Sky Knight Legionnaire into haste guy. I mean, this is the Boros curve from hell for my opponent. The Riot Gear was boarded in because I didn't want Holy Mantle against an opponent with a bunch of bounce spells and removal. But Riot Gear can increase your ability to attack with any dumpy creature in the mid-game. So, I boarded it in. Yeah, so here it is. I mean, it's my third turn on the draw. My opponent has done just completely nothing yet. And he's about to be at 15 life. And it's actually, I have him dead on turn 5 with this hand, if he just does nothing. And he has to do something besides just flyers. Oh, he has Arrows of Justice. So I lost my Skyjack. Whatever, we still got pressure on the board. I'm a little concerned, given that I've drawn 5 lands and 3 creatures, that at this point he might just have a whole bunch of removal, but instead he taps out to play Nightveil Spectre, which is going to let me put Riot Gear on my Sky Knight Legionnaire and continue to apply pressure. You know, it's just Holy Mantle would actually have been slightly better here than the Riot Gear. It's 1 more point of damage every turn, but it's also less committed, so if he has a removal spell, I would have been happier. So he has Lost Thoughts. Put on his Nightveil Spectre. It's one of the better Cypher spells. And here, the thing is, because he tapped out to do that, I get to play both my Hellraiser Goblin and my Syndicate Tithes and crash for 7. So my opponent is now at 8 life, going on to his 6th turn, I guess, and he still just has 1 creature on the board, and you know he's got 5 cards in hand, so he could have some gas. But I peel Mugging. At this point, the Mugging represents lethal, because I have 7 power on the board, so plus an Extort trigger. So obviously you're going to go for it. You know, at this point you don't want to give your opponent any more time. So there's no reason to not go for it. I mean, you know, if he has something, and then he has Merfolk of the Depths, right? So he gets to block and trade for one of my guys, but he still goes to 2 points of life here, and he doesn't have anything to stop the Sky Knight Legionnaire yet, so he has to have like removal and a blocker or something else. He ends up having Knight of Obligation and Simic Manipulator, so he's got a decent board position, but he still can't stop that Sky Knight Legionnaire. So I top deck Vishino Shanktail, and you know, it's kind of a question, what should you do here with it? Should you play it and haste it, or use it as a Blood Rush guy? I chose to use it as a Blood Rush guy because that lets me attack with Hellraiser. I mean, I have to attack with Hellraiser Goblin, but it makes his obvious choice of blocking with Knight of Obligation get punished instead of being rewarded. Now, had I cast the Shanktail, he has to chump with his Simic Manipulator, but I lose my Hellraiser Goblin, so every creature thereafter is less powerful. And at this point, I just wasn't... You know, he doesn't have enough cards in hand for me to think that he's gonna, you know, play 2 more guys, evolve, and then just, you know, crush me with like that. So that was me just savaging a Dimir opponent. I guess technically 3 colors, but yeah, I mean, dude just had kind of a slow, dumpy control deck, and you got run the hell over by cheap Boros creatures. I think this is kind of just part of the way the format goes. All right, so now we move on to the second round. Again, unfortunately, Magic Online just doesn't record all your games. So this is round 2. I actually have both games for this round, so we're not gonna hit you with any spoilers off the top of the bat. I did win the die roll, which is very good because I'm playing Boros aggro. So I mean, it's just sweet. So here you look at the opening hand. 3 lands, an Ember Beast, a Madcap Skills, a Mugging, and a Boros Charm. I'm gonna keep. I'm not excited by it. It needs to draw other creatures. but my deck had, I believe, 18 creatures. And I do have a removal spell, so the risks of just doing nothing with this hand are real, but kind of minimal. I mean, if you only draw one creature the entire game, you're probably not going to win anyway. Obviously, I get a little bit lucky and peel Skinbrand Goblin for the second turn, which enables the Ember Beast to on turn 3 to be live. Drawing a 2-drop was basically the ideal thing to draw there. My opponent has a Truefire Paladin, so we're playing a Boros Mirror, which makes me pretty happy I have this mugging. So here, I'm going to offer the trade with the Skinbrand Goblin. I drew Wojak Halberdiers, so I think I have enough creatures that I can throw one away and still have Ember Beast active. And there's no way that the value difference between Truefire Paladin and Skinbrand Goblin is such that he's going to want to trade. It might actually be right for him to trade. I'm not actually sure if this is correct. I'm going to end up casting Mugging, targeting that Truefire Paladin, whether he doesn't block or regardless, basically. So maybe I should have done it pre-combat, just in case, but regardless, he chooses not to block, which is probably the right play. And then I'm mugging and play Wojak Halberdier. So I'm now up 2 creatures to 0, 5 power. I mean, it's going to be tough for my opponent to win this game. He was on the draw. I had a fairly aggressive curve out, and I just, I don't think you save mugging for other creatures. I don't think it's the case that Truefire Paladin is so mana intensive that you want to just leave it on the board here, especially because, it's a battalion enabler. All right, so he drops Warmind Infantry. It's a pretty good one. Threatens to trade or shut down my Skinbrand Goblin or trade with Halberdiers. But then I draw Sky-Knight Legionnaire, which I think about it for a little bit, but I don't want to just play the Sky-Knight Legionnaire and attack. I want to have it for the Ember Beast next turn, so I'm going to offer the trade with the Halberdiers. Again, my opponent just declines the trade. I think this is wrong. I honestly think he should have traded for both of my creatures at this point. But then I'm going to play the Ember Beast so that I can set up Sky-Knight Legionnaire to enable Ember Beast, which is going to be nearly unbeatable from his position here. I mean, it's just he's so far behind in terms of power on the board. Once Battalion's going with that Halberdiers, I mean, he's going to have a 3/2 First Striker, 3/4 Ground Beater, and then a Flyer to try to deal with. So my opponent plays 2 1-drops from Founder Street Denizen and Legion Loyalist. And at this point, I'm kind of worried he's going to attack because I don't have any productive blocks, like at all. His guys have First Strike, and to get Ember Beast to block, I have to throw Skinbrand Goblin away. And then if I block the Warmind Infantry, I'm just tossing the Ember Beast away. So I have no good blocks here at all. Like, I guess I can kill the Legion Loyalist with my Ember Beast and chump the Warmind Infantry. But that's pretty terrible. Yet for some reason my opponent doesn't attack. So he's neither trading with my guys nor attacking. So my opponent, honestly, my opponent just kind of threw this game away. He just didn't make plays that would be conducive to winning the game. I mean, if you're not going to block and you're not going to attack, why do you have creatures on the board? They're literally doing nothing. Attacking and blocking is what creatures do. What are you doing? Come on, buddy. Anyway, I play the Sky-Knight Legionnaire, and I just savage him. For as much as his creatures could give me no good blocks, he on the reverse side has even fewer good blocks. He just has he can't. He's at 15, and his best block is probably going to be to just throw something in front of one of my guys, take 5 life, go to 10, and be, I'm going to have 10 power on the board plus whatever I have in hand. And he had no good blocks this turn, so he needs to miracle some removal. He needs to miracle Bonfire of the Damned at this point. But so he decides to throw away his Warmind Infantry. Or does he? Got a white man open. Smite, Shielded Passage. It was Shielded Passage. Alright, so he kills my Wojak Halberdiers. But he still takes 5. And he's still not advancing his board state. And this made me all the more curious. If you had Shielded Passage, why didn't you attack? I could literally not have killed any of your guys in combat. But, whatever. And then he, again, just doesn't attack. So, he doesn't attack. Here, I want to say, I do realize that I could play Madcap skills on the Sky-Knight Legionnaire, Boros Charm it for double strike, and kill my opponent. I do realize that's a play, but I'm very concerned he has an instant removal of some kind. Like, if I make that play, and then he has Arrows of Justice, I'm down 3 cards, and I'm actually behind on the board. I don't have to make that play. Like, there's no reason to be that aggressive about it. So instead, I'm just going to play the other Sky Knight Legionnaire and continue beating with Ember Beast and Flyers. I mean, there's no reason to tap out and risk getting 3 for 1 in order to cut 1 turn off the clock here. Especially because if my opponent is at all a reasonable player, even though that's beginning to become more and more unlikely, he has to have a removal here. Otherwise, what did he do with his mana, right? So, and he had a massive raid. So had I gone for it, I would have been 3 for 1 and way behind on the board. So there you go. And then, I mean, he's still dead, right? Like, I have Madcap Skills and Boros Charm. He's still just dead. So he plays his own Sky Knight Legionnaire. So now he's just dead. He's actual dead. I'm just going to attack and Boros Charm him. If I remember right, I play Madcap Skills just because I want to show it off. But it doesn't matter. He was dead to the Boros Charm. Like, I'm just going to blast him for 2. So, there you go. You're dead, buddy. You're dead. This whole game, my opponent just made inexplicable choices, like not attacking, not blocking when you could have done it. He could have put me under pressure. I probably was still winning the race, especially when you consider that I had the Boros Charm and the Madcap Skills. But the way he played it, he gave himself no opportunities to win. And it was just a matter of time before my Flyers got him. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what he could have had in hand that would make the plays he did correct or even reasonable, and I actually just can't think of anything. I literally can't think of a card in the set that makes his plays correct. Alright, so here's game 2 against that same opponent. This time I'm on the draw. I boarded in a couple of Towering Thunder Fists and a Riot Gear, and if I remember right, I boarded out my Holy Mantle and something else. So my keep... Yes, this hand goes 1, 2, 3, 5, 5 with both colors of mana. Alright, yeah. Got kind of lucky here. Not going to lie. I have enough land in the deck that I should, especially on the draw, hit more lands. And I do, so now I'm already set up to go 1, 2, 3. Going Foundry Street Denizen, Skinbrand Goblin into Warmind Infantry. So he has a Fire Fist Striker. That's a pretty good card. Alright, Scorchwalker. So now I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Heh, whatever. Get lucky, Grunch. I know. But, anyway, to the game. Obviously, when I play Foundry Street Denizen, there's no reason I'm not going to place the Goblin and follow it up and get him with Savannah Lions. My opponent declines to block, which makes sense because his creature is way more valuable than either of my guys. So now he plays a Court Street Denizen. Notice, neither of his creatures are actually good blockers at this point. Like, when I cast this Warmind Infantry this turn, he still isn't set up to do any productive blocking. But he's going to be down a creature on the board and down 6 points of life if he doesn't block. And the Warmind Infantry is already, at least as far as attacking is concerned, he has to have something to get his guys through. So now he trades the Fire Fist Striker for the Skinbrand Goblin. It's a reasonable play, but I don't think it gives him enough momentum in the game to turn it around. He's going to have something real big on his turn 4 here. And what he's got is a Daring Skyjack, and he taps my guy and gets in for 2. Not the best play. I'm really not impressed. I mean, he probably should have kept that guy back and traded his Court Street Denizen for my Foundry Denizen. Like, yeah, it's a slower guy for a faster guy, but, like, you have to get on the board. You can't just keep taking damage. So anyway, so I cast my Scorchwalker. Yes, I'm curving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hitting all my land drops and all my curve drops. Anyway, so I bash. He blocks and trades for Warmind Infantry, which I think is completely reasonable. You don't want that guy going Battalion on you. So here he doesn't cast anything on his 5th turn. He's got 3 cards in hand. I mean, what the hell? I'm actually completely happy at this point trading the Scorchwalker for the Foundry Street or for the Court Street Denizen, because I have 2 4/4s in hand and I'm up 4 points of life and 2 creatures on the board. Like, he has to have some amazing things to start happening now. In order to turn this around. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to trade Scorchwalker for the Court Street Denizen, just because it keeps me getting in. And then he just has nothing on his turn. I suspect at this point he's just mana flooded. Like, he just has traded 3 cards off and just gotten flooded. So yeah, so we're gonna go to my turn, play this other Towering Thunder Fist. Vigilance, the first one, because, I mean, why not, right? Yeah. I mean, I curved out. My opponent had a little bit of some stuff, but he didn't have removal. He didn't add anything to Trumpet. And, yeah, he complains, wow, never seen a perfect curve before. Well, there you go, buddy. There you go. Perfect curve. Perfect curve. Obviously, peel Sky Knight Legionnaire for the daggers. Yeah, I think this game is the game that convinced me Foundry Street Denizen was an actual good card. Originally, I wasn't going to play it in my deck, and then I did play it just to get a, sort of a critical mass of cheap creatures, just get enough to try to get Battalion to happen. And then as I play the games, I'm actually very happy with him. He's basically a Savan Lions. So I don't want to say textbook or typical or anything like that. I don't want to try to overplay, you know, curving out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 against an opponent who has 2-drop, 3-drop, 2-drop, and no removal. But, you know, that's what happened. Things to learn here. Marginal big dudes are actually pretty good in the Boros Mirror, because you're both trying to enable Battalion and yet also be offensive. Creatures are likely to trade. Battalion's actually not that likely to occur, which means that the game progresses to a state where your dumpy 4/4s can actually be productive cards. So that's kind of the lesson learned here. Also, curving out is good. Always curve out if you can. Alright, so now we move to the last round of this draft. Yes, 3 rounds, and Magic Online only preserved 4 of my games. Granted, I only played 7 games, but still. So this is round 3, and I believe this is game 2. Or excuse me, no, this is game 1. So I don't know what I'm playing against. My opening hand has both colors and mana. It's got a 2-drop. It's got a Madcap Skills. It's not the greatest hand ever. Scorchwalker and Knight of Obligation are kind of working at cross purposes. But Madcap Skills after Bomber Core offers the possibility of getting some damage through early. And then I still have stuff to get damage through late with the Act of Treason and the Knight of Obligation. So I'm going to keep it. It's not an exciting hand. But having both colors of mana and stuff to do is kind of about the threshold you have to accept sometimes. So I peeled a 3rd land, and then I peeled a Mugging. So things are working out pretty okay so far. My opponent's on Gruul, which can be one of the tougher matchups. So he has a turn 3 Croconura, which is pretty good. Doesn't stop me from getting my skills on my Bomber Core. Smacking you for 4, buddy. Little smacky smack. Madcap Skills is so good. It's risky, it's an aura, you get 2 for 1, but I mean, this is a 5-turn clock off just marginal commons. So, yeah, my opponent here has a pit fight. And he pit fights the Skinbrand Goblin onto the Madcap Skills Bomber Core. I don't blame him. It's a 2 for 2 trade. And it gets the pressure off of him. So I peeled Wojak Halberdiers. Kind of would have liked a 4th land, but what are you going to do? So here, he has a Cinder Elemental, which is good. I was very concerned that he was going to just have like a Zerta Swine and just start savaging me. He also held back on his Croconura attack, which I'm not sure I agree with. It is trading 2 damage for 3, I suppose, so maybe, but I finally peeled the 4th land, and I'm going to get my Knight of Obligation on the board. Obviously, I'm in no position to attack, but it's weird. My opponent has 6 lands on the board. On his turn now, 3 cards in hand. Like, what has he got that he's just not doing anything? And so he plays a Scorchwalker. Now he's got 1 card in hand. Like, he just... Yeah, obviously, he doesn't have much going on. I'm mugging the Scorchwalker because I, at this point, don't want to trade either of my guys for it. I'm thinking that if I can get the Ember Beast on the board, I might be in a position to start attacking. So I want to get the Scorchwalker off the board. So here I'm going to play the Ember Beast. thinking I'm going to start being in a position to attack, finally. You'll notice I keep extorting my opponent. Extort is actually pretty good in Boros. See, I've gotten 2 extort triggers already. It makes it such that my opponent has to have some serious gas to race. Crowned Ceratok out of him, at which point my hopes of bashing this turn were quite clearly doused. So I'm going to play my Scorchwalker. Extorting again. Extort does good work in Boros. Its reach, it helps you race. It's really good. So here, my opponent plays a Gruul Key Rune, and it feels like this game is starting to slip away. Like, I only have 1 red mana, so I can never make 2 plays a turn. I draw Shanktail, so obviously I'm just going to cast Shanktail and extort. I do want to note that I'm starting to get to the point where my power has built up to where Active Treason might just be lethal. Especially if he doesn't continue to play guys. Like in a couple turns, this Active Treason I can just kill him. But as far as attacking, I'm still not in a position. Like I would have to throw at least 1 guy away, and it's just not worth it. Like to get, 3 or 4 points through to lose 2 guys is not a good trade. So he plays Scar Goliath, which obviously, if you're watching this, you can just tell that the Active Treason in my hand kills him now. Scar Goliath that's kind of a funny card, I'm not going to lie. I don't think I would actually play it. It's 8 mana. It's 7 to Blood Rush. Granted, I might consider playing it as like a gigantic Blood Rush finisher. But to actually cast it here, right now, like if he just doesn't know that Active Treason is a card, okay, that's one thing. But, I mean, he's... This is... What are you doing, dude? People just love their Terra Stompers and their fucking Scar Goliaths and their... Just whatever, just giant green dude! And, okay, threaten it and kill you with it. It's too expensive, it's 8 mana. It should have been a Blood Rush effect. Anyway, obviously it just makes him dead. So yeah, so this was kind of this was a moment where I learned that Active Treason is insane against Gruul. Actually insane. The Gruul players have to play very carefully because, okay, granted, not as carefully if we're talking about Xerta Swines or even Ruination Worms, but if you're going to play a 9/9 friggin' trample creature, you have to be aware of the pot and just ranching you. Just ranching you the hardest. I mean, we're talking Swiss Valley, I mean, drowning in ranch here. This is 1 buffalo wing dumped down into an entire beer glass full of ranch dressing is what happens here. Alright, so that was my sweet Boros deck crushing. 3-0. Thanks for watching, guys. I was